The most important part to drawing the arm is looking specifically at drawing the structuring of the elbow. So again, we look at the angle from shoulder to the bend of the elbow to the forearm, and we start to look at what the actual structures are of the elbow, looking at the turning points, muscle moving around from the elbow around to the top part of the arm to the bend, the tendons pulling across to the biceps, moving back to the forearm, muscles pulling down, back up towards the shoulder. If we remove that image, you will see that the focus here was on the structuring of the elbow that relates to the actual bend and angles of the turning points of tonal value that guide the volume of the arm. Now, again, from a different angle is center line, bend of the elbow towards the forearm. Again, structuring of the elbow, looking at how the tonal value moves across the muscle, which is the lines that you indicate to show volume, how it moves around the bend up towards the edge of the arm, back around the top part of the arm, which again is the structures of an elbow and arm, showing volume and turning point. With the arm faced on this angle, it's difficult to see the actual structuring, but again we look at the bend of the arm first, looking at the turning points, looking at the muscle moving around the edges of the arm, back across the top to the bend of the arm, moving to the forearm and wrist. Now, the turning points and volumes are important, but you can't build the structures without considering the turning point and inside out formula. So again, building the arm from the inside turn is building the turn of the arm, lines moving across to the top of the arm towards the wrist and forearm tendons that meet the edges of the wrist, back up to the bend of the arm, around to the shoulder. And now you will be able to see that again, that principle of inside out is the way in which we guide our lines to give an outline volume. We don't start from an outline, we start from inside out. Now, from this principle of inside out, the approach here guides us now as to how we would start to build tonal value around the form, and those lines that we indicate around the turns are that of guidance. So on a different angle with the arm bent towards the wrist, we look at the structures of the elbow, turning points around the forearm and top part of the arm, muscles and tendons towards the wrist, back up to the top part of the arm, back down to the wrist and palm of the hand, inside structures of where the fingers would be. That again guides us when we start to build the structures of the elbow, to be able to build estimate of tonal values around the volume of forearm and top part of the arm towards the shoulder. Looking at a different angle from this bend of the arm is looking at the bend from shoulder to elbow and wrist. Again, starting off with the bend and structures of the elbow, how they move across down to the forearm, and the tendons towards the bend of the arm that move back down to the wrist, pulling back up to the top part of the arm, down into the bend to the forearm volume, around the tendons to the bend of the arm, back down and where they meet the wrist. Again, this provides a guidance for us to know where to place our estimate of tonal values and how we need to direct the angles and guidelines of directional lines for our tonal value to move in different directions, building volume. Now again, you can't build the outlines without considering the structures from inside out. And each arm differs and each person differs, but this formula relates of starting off inside out. Again, looking at an angle from the bend of the arm from the inside, looking at building the arm pocket towards the elbow and forearm. Again, the same principle applies. Structure first, tendons and turning points, and how the volumes relate to one another. Nothing is disconnected from one another, but they connect in terms of tonal value of what you see moving lines across the structures and volume to provide adequate structures. And this is what the end result will start to formulate for your own understanding of building tonal value according to structures. That building the structures first and then guiding tonal values around the structures, from the structures of the elbow towards the top part of the arm, bend of the arm, and forearm, is that which guides the structures of the elbow. It is not drawing the outline first, but is drawing the inside out process. And that process, which we follow drawing every part of the human body, is the same principle in this instance with regards to the elbow. And you will see that the same understanding of drawing the elbow applies to drawing the knee.